Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Token Cast Presents The 2 Cent Dial. I'm your host and sometimes referee, the friendly neighborhood Zach Sat Pearson, and today I'm joined by he who is the newest of the new. But we don't call him Neo, because it'll go to his ego. A one Pike.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Glad to be here.
And of course, we are joined by the living and the most living of the legends. In fact, some would say he's been alive 9,000 times. A one Officer 9,000 plus one.
Over 9,000 indeed. Hey, how you doing?
Okay, so, as if the title didn't already confuse some people, I'm just gonna go into it. In fact, I might even change it before this video goes out, just to, not clickbait, but for the sake of comprehension. So, verisimilitude, or things relating to verisimile and the words associated with it, pretty much means how well a story follows its own logic and canon, and if it's being broken, or to what state is it broken. Is it a severe degree, or is it an extensively minuscule problem that's practically insignificant? So, in the case of a movie, a good example would be if I say that no one can go outside of this space station because no one can breathe because there's no air in space and they'll freeze to death. And in the final fight sequence of this video, human beings with no spacesuits are fighting while there's no air, and they somehow survive more than the 1 minute 18 seconds supposedly humans can survive. But let's be honest, you dead at 40. And it's like a 5-10 minute sequence and they're talking. There is a goddamn problem. That is called, the slang would be broken canon, but realistically the proper term is a verisimilitude issue, or the verisimile is off, you could say. However, video games don't necessarily have a verisimile equivalent, or rather, they are allowed to break it in certain contexts. That context isn't plot hole related, it's more related to action things. For example, you play a game with the story in an RPG, but in the beginning of the game, the characters are talking to you as a player and explaining you how to do things by telling you what buttons to actually press that are on your controller as a user. You know? That's normally how things are broken, unless it's, again, logic relations.
Yeah, tutorials and the like.
And of course, I don't want to say Japan exclusively does this, and I don't want people to think we're exclusively picking on them, but you have to understand that Japanese influence on video game culture is immortal.
Immense. Immortal and immense.
Yeah, it is essentially immortal. So when you see characters running around in a bikini, but they have superhuman strength, not invulnerability. They can be cut by a butter knife and shit, but they're fighting on a mountaintop in a bikini. You can say, well, it's not canon. Okay. But does that break the verisimile? Does that mess with the logic? And for the record, I am excluding guest character and DLCs relating to crossover and promotional shit. Okay? Let's not go too deep into this rabbit hole.
Okay.
So, the main reason I'm bringing this up is because I have one basic question. Do you guys think that verisimile can be applied to video games, or should video games have essentially a non-existent word or category specifically for their own, canonicity? Because you can't say that a tutorial stage breaks canon in an RPG, but you can say if the main character dies in the beginning of the game, but he's magically alive and nobody addresses it in the end of the game, that's a problem. Or for those who unfortunately I'm going to have to scar and get PTSD, the entirety of Bayonetta 3.
Glad I didn't play that one.
Yeah, you should be. Like, I tell everybody, oh man, Bayonetta's finally getting big. Which one should I start with? Which one do you think's got the best combat? I was like, listen, just play them in reverse. You will be frustrated by 1 because of the auto death bullshit, like it's Ninja Gaiden. 2 is the perfect balance, and I put the most time into that. Stay away from 3. But the combat looks so fun. Yes. But everything outside of that. Also, the combat ain't as fun as you think because they threw too much shit in there.
That description reminds me of Borderlands 3.
I would,
Borderlands 3's problem was literally the story's shittiness.
It was so bad.
The problem with Bayonetta 3 is the combat is not shitty. How they executed it is fucking terrible. And the system can barely handle it sometimes. And I'm speaking as someone who beat the game. And, well, my system even crashed from it. Which is a crazy thing to say. And also the fact that they did a complete reformatting instead of just doing what they normally do. They essentially incorporated the Devil May Cry system of gaining new combat skills on top of you having demon-specific combat skills. And they took out the ability to mix and match your weapons on your hands and feet. But a lot of people didn't notice that because for some reason the story was so terrible, almost nobody even brought this up in a lot of videos. So if you got 2 handguns, if you got 4 handguns, well, guess what, buddy? They're gonna be a pair on your feet or your hands. It is so aggravating. You cannot switch them off. You automatically get a pair. And also, well, despite there being a bunch of Bayonettas in the game, almost all of them have cutscenes that don't make actual sense. And even how they die don't make sense. If they're even still dead. You already see where I'm going. Like, Bayonetta is going to be the poster child for this verisimile talk. Okay, so, listen. In Bayonetta 3, almost every single other Bayonetta dies. With the exception of 2. 3. The first 2 are themed after Bayonetta 1 and 2 Bayonetta. They literally are not in the entire game and they only show up for one boss fight where you essentially do a 3-way fusion. Even though you're winning, at some point in time, you get knocked into a wall and those 2 separate, leaving the third Bayonetta, which is the Bayonetta that you're playing. And they're not dead. They just roll to the left and roll to the right. They disappeared from the rest of the fucking game. See how confusing that is?
yeah, it's pretty fair.
What? What the why? I know I shouldn't ask that question, but...
Bayonetta 3, no, you should never ask why. Furthermore, the game did not even properly give you a closing cutscene or an epilogue that lets you know if the Bayonettas are alive again. The one you thought died is alive again. And on top of it, you don't understand if Viola is supposed to be the new Bayonetta for the rest of the series, or if Viola is just Bayonetta is just a title. Because she just decided to take over the name. Here's where it gets crazy. They had to clarify shit on the social media platforms because the story was so fucking bad.
That's bad.
This is not a work of cinematography fiction or novelized fiction or graphic novelized fiction. So, verisimile is kind of selective in a video game because remember, you could beat somebody up and a button prompt shows up. Boom, broken verisimile. Do you think,
That's true.
Pike, I'm going to ask you first because you knew. Do you think video games should adhere to verisimile? Or do you think that there should be a alternative to verisimile that video games need to adhere to avoid having issues like these? Or at least, better understanding the difference between someone saying something is broken because of how they feel versus, nah, y'all fucked up on the development side. Because currently, as far as I know, there isn't any word in the closest, like I said, verisimile, verisimilitude.
Mm.
You gonna say something, bro?
I don't know if he's still here.
I'm talking to you, bro. I said Pike, not officer.
Oh, um, I don't think there should be any different like word or classification for it, simply because games like Final Fantasy X exist, and that's basically that in a nutshell. Like, just for the fact that like spoilers for like how old is 10? Uh, almost 20 years old or something like that. Probably 20 years old.
At
How
least.
does it? Like, he's dead at the beginning of the game. It kind of breaks the canonicity of the game because he's dead at the beginning of the game, but nobody seems to have a problem with it. So it's one of those things where I just gotta let it slide. In my opinion.
So you think we just gotta toss our hands up and say fuck it?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. I wish I could think something as noble as that. All right, officer. What about you?
Honestly, thinking on it, there probably should be some separate term used for video games, because to a certain degree, huh?
I said, or at least recognition of the.
Yeah, because there are certain things that you just have to have in a video game, like say the tutorial. You have to have depending on the game, you have to have a tutorial, and sometimes you can be very creative in how you set up the tutorial to not break that sense of, canonicity, if you will, that we mentioned earlier. But other times you just gotta bite the bullet and just, here is your tutorial telling you exactly, with button prompts of this does this does this. And if they can do that, if they can do that in a way that is not intrusive, I applaud them, but I definitely see the need for some games to just have, here's tutorial explaining what all the buttons and the like do.
So you want both?
If possible, both is doable depending on the type of game. But there are certain types of games where that kind of thing just ain't possible. I would say it would depend on the game, or the genre of the game.
I kind of like that answer. All right, well, I guess that just leaves yours truly. So, listen, guys, in my case, I feel as if it should be, as you say, officer, it should be game dependent, but also there should be some type of wording or maybe just a grade or ranking system that is now going to be included maybe nationally or internationally, so people can become more aware of it in the development side. Because you and me saying something and we echo it out into the internet is one thing. Everything gets thrown out into the internet. But you guys, but also the developers, if they see that their own ranking systems now it's got visuals, storytelling, what is it? It's another one, combat or gameplay, sound and music, and now verisimile, they may start to care more. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be ranking acknowledgement. Because normally, I hate to say it, but it's almost like a reflex. And no, it's not just IGN, as easy as it would be to pick on them. A lot of people, when it comes to video games, they don't rank the story unless it's an RPG. And I'm talking like actual, legitimate people who do it as a hobby or they do it for profit online. And they're not connected to a big company. The stories are almost rarely graded unless it's an RPG. So I think verisimile should be included on all grading systems going forward when it comes to the critiquing and reviewing unbiasedly, at least on paper, of interactive digital entertainment media, aka video games. So I think they should care as an entirety, as an industry, not just dependent on the game. So I guess, you know, we all in different extremes. Pike, you're in the fuck it category. Officer, you're in the middle, and I'm all the way on the hard left side. Which, you know, I guess that fits, because like I said, we're not here to be an echo chamber. Yes, we will call out people when they say ignorant shit or something that's blatantly wrong and stupid in a polite manner, unless they're an asshole. But, you know, it's always good that I can get the confirmation, hey, we're not turning into a full-on echo chamber.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, with that being said, I pray you all never get to experience the story of Bayonetta 3. In fact, if you do get the games on cheap, please skip all the cutscenes. I am not fucking with you right now. And that will be the best way to enjoy that game. Or simply get Bayonetta 2, because Bayonetta 2 is still fire.
Yep.
But yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.